In today's gospel, we hear the story of Jesus calling the 12 apostles. Though really, that's a generous way to frame it. A story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It features characters who want something and overcome obstacles. Our reading today is less of a story and more of a report, and a boring report at that. Today is the feast of Saints Simon and Jude, which does make this gospel quite appropriate. Simon and Jude are two disciples who are defined by the gospel writer as, no, not that one that you're thinking about, the other one. There's Simon the Zealot, who is not Simon Peter. And then we have Judas, the son of James, not to be confused with Judas Iscariot. In fact, it is so important not to confuse the two Judases that Judas, the son of James, goes by a nickname thousands of years later, Jude. But I don't think the gospel is telling us to be the standout who everyone knows by name. Within today's readings is a reflection on what it means to be a disciple. I want to point out two lessons from today's readings. First, to be a disciple is to be part of a group. And we know that a group will have conflict. Let's look at the other guys whose feast day is not today, right? Peter denies Jesus. Judas betrays him. Yes, we know these big examples. But what strikes me here is something smaller. Simon is framed as a zealot. Zealots were a Jewish sect that believed there was only one king, God. Any payment of taxes to a king or empire on earth was forbidden. Now imagine a zealot at the same table as a tax collector. It's not just an unlikely group of people together, it is an unimaginable group of people together. It isn't new information that Jesus called people who we wouldn't expect. But this focus on Simon and Jude made me realize how strange that gathering of people would be today. And it made me think, how does our parish community welcome people together? And the call of synodality in the church addresses this. The call of synodality is a call to be in community with those who are different from us. It's a call to listen. And not to just listen to respond, but to listen to understand. To listen with the belief that God is present in that person's story. What does listening look like in our parish? Are we in echo chambers? Or are we in relationship with those who are really, truly different from us? The tax collector to our zealot. Lesson 2. To be a disciple is to live out the gospel. Okay, so this point is not exactly cutting edge theological insight, but again, there's wisdom in the simplicity of this message. Tradition tells us that Saints Simon and Jude traveled together. Some sources say that they traveled to Persia and were martyred in the year 65. And other sources trace this duo to Armenia, Lebanon, Egypt, or Samaria. And in traditional art, Jude is depicted with a club, having been beaten to death, and Simon holds a saw, having been sawed in half. Even though we don't know the exact details of what their lives and their deaths would have looked like, we can see that discipleship comes with great sacrifice and can even result in death. The gospel is not warm and fuzzy. It is not a sanitized version that appears on signs at Hallmark stores and Hobby Lobby. The gospel is radical. It's an invitation to a type of justice that we can only know through God. It's an invitation to open ourselves up to the reign of God on earth. And again, it is telling that we do not celebrate these saints' feasts separately, but together. Discipleship cannot be separated from community. It's not just about me following Jesus as an individual, but also about how I follow Jesus in a community. Our joint call is a call of living out the gospel. We are not promised fame and glory in return. In fact, it may be just the opposite. Our sacrifice might not be recognized by others. Our efforts might appear to go unnoticed or be obscure. But we do not follow Jesus for the trophy, the plaque, or the recognition. And this is underscored by the first reading today. Paul's letters to the Ephesians affirms that we are not strangers and sojourners, but now we are members of the household of God. We follow in the tradition of prophets and apostles, even, and maybe most especially, the obscure apostles. And most importantly, we do not do this for our own sake. Paul reminds the Ephesians, in Jesus you are also being built together into a dwelling place of God in the Spirit. We are called to follow the example of the apostles, the early church in Ephesus, and every church that connects us between them and now over these 2,000 plus years to become a dwelling place of God. We do this in community. We do this connected to the gospel call to justice. We never achieve this perfectly, being able to cross it off as complete on our to-do lists. It's a call that we live into every day. So, Holy Trinity community, as we embark together on this week, I offer this question to focus our discernment. How are we becoming more and more the dwelling place of God? How are we doing this in community? And how are we doing this connected to the gospel?